Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Crypto Crow. I am live, and this should be an interesting, fun video, hopefully. There's a lot of stuff on my mind, and I've been working on a lot of things. So I just finished up a pretty significant project that I did kind of for my own sanity. Believe it or not, I actually wrote a 580-page philosophical religion, because that's the kind of nerdy stuff that I do in my spare time. And so I've been building out the website for it, and just, you know, man, I've been reformatting it for a lot of different things. I'll show you, I'll pull up a little, I'll show you the cover of it. How's that? I don't know if this will show real well or not. Let's see. There it is. There's the cover of it. And that's what it's called, Vibrantism. Something I've had in my head for years and years and years and years, and I finally got it all out. I used Chat GPT to kind of help, and you know, it is what it is. We'll see, but hopefully it's kind of something. It's hard to explain, but it's basically a lot of stuff that I've kind of felt, studied, researched on and off, honestly, since I was a little kid. And you know, I used Chat GPT to help with a lot of research, and yeah, man. I mean, I got it all together, and I gave my wife a copy of it because she loves that kind of stuff, and she's like, "This is so good. This is so good." She's like, "I want to read the whole thing." I'm like, "The whole thing's like 580 pages printed." So we'll see. I'm working on the website, waiting for a bunch of stuff to confirm on the aggregators so that I can publish it out there into the world, and hopefully, maybe it'll help you guys. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, I'm live. What's up, Alex? Always first in chat, man. You always blow my mind with that. Hopefully you like my my new studio background there for the times. What up, Devon? What's going on? First yet again. Yes, you are. You're like a ninja with that. Poe, man, what's going on? How are you? It's been a little while. It's been a while. Obviously, I haven't been doing a lot of content. I've been really just trying to focus on other things just to get through this election. And man, it's kind of a scary time. I mean, it really is. It's a scary time. And you know, I'll share some of my thoughts on that and some of the recent things that I've done. Elijah, I remember you from 2017. Well, brother, I've been here ever since, man. I haven't gone anywhere. I've just gotten a little more gray, maybe a little better looking at time. I think maybe I don't know. My wife was pulling out old pictures of us. My wife and I have been together 14 years, and I turned 47 this month, actually, towards the end of the month. And looking at the old photos of me and just how much I've changed just in the last decade. I mean, it's just crazy. Just since 2017, for that matter, I've changed so much. Changed so much as a man, changed so much physically. I mean, it's just... You know, I would almost say I'm a completely different person than who I was back then. Not that I was a bad dude at all, but just philosophically, I've changed quite a bit. I feel like in terms of my relationship and my family, and, you know, I think the older you get, the more mature you get, and the more wise you get, and the more experiences you have in life, the more the way you think about things changes. And it's almost like taste buds, you know, they change every 7 years. And so mine definitely have, for sure. Well, I missed you too, Poe, man. I always love to see you in chat and on Twitter and everywhere, man. You and Chef and David Nance and all you guys are some of the biggest supporters, and I really do appreciate you guys. Dave Nance is always working on something for me now, and he's such a smart guy, and of course Jason, Crypto Chef, always eager to help, and you know, you guys mean a lot to me, and I really do hope that things start really turning around quite a bit. I'm going to make this chat bigger so that it's easier to see what all's being said. That way even the trolls can get some love. I haven't seen any yet, but they're always coming. They're slackers. They're smoking the rest of their herbal bliss, and then they'll be on chat, I'm sure, talking shit about Cardano. Although I find it interesting because there's some of the big changes associated with Cardano lately. It's like, I don't know what the fudders have to say anymore, man. Speaking of which, I don't know how many. I think there have only been a couple, but you guys need to get these shirts. You guys need to get these daggone shirts. Hold on, I'm gonna have to put, where's my chat? Where's the daggone, is that it? Yeah, so this is the new shirt that I created. Bitcoin and Midnight, Cardano, Bitcoin, Midnight, now a family. And man, I love this. You've got Cardano shaking hands with Bitcoin. Boom, big explosion for the partnership. So it's beyond a partnership. It's so much bigger than that. And then you've got Midnight with their food bowl down here. And you can't see it on this image, but the food bowl says Midnight. I just think the three of those things together is going to make one of the biggest powerhouses in crypto, man. And I really just don't know. I don't know what else. I don't know what people are. I don't know what you're going to be able to say. I don't know what the fudders are going to be able to say from now on. I really don't. There's just nothing to be said. I guess while we're getting into it, we can go ahead and look at a couple other things. This is Bitcoin's dominance. The last video that I did, I said Bitcoin's dominance is likely going to continue moving up until we get to around 65%. And Cardano's price and I was looking at Coin Market Cap and I was trying to figure out, like, oh, you know, Cardano's down again, it's like 32 cents. I wonder what everything else is doing, man. And I hit the button that basically puts the most losing. You know what? Let me see if I can pull that up. Hold on. Coin Market Cap. Okay. I'll just show you right here, man. I mean, this is crazy. So these are the most losing crypto assets right now. I mean, some of them are down just over this last 7 days. Thorchain, Rune down 26%. Dog with Hat down 20, almost 24%. Immutable X, or Immutable IMX 23.5%. Brett, basically a lot of the shit coins, well, not Immutable. I don't really think that's a shit coin. I don't know a whole heck of a lot about it, but like the meme coins, a lot of them have been taking heavy dumps. WorldCoin down 22%. Phantom, BitTensor. I mean, a lot of stuff that you see a lot of people pumping all of the time. Like a lot of the degen influencers out there that are always trying to pump their bags. You see Bonk down 20%, Beam down 20%. It's crazy. This is all the stuff that all of like the big crypto influencers are always saying are going to the moon. And man, they're just dropping so hard. I mean, the list goes on. As you've got Near Protocol down 18%, Celestia 17%, Gala, Aave. I mean, Pepe's down 16%, Helium, HNT, which, man, I was going to get into that. And the more I dove into it, the more I felt like it was almost like a hardware Ponzi. It just didn't sit well with me. And anytime you try to talk to somebody, the way they would like a part of the team or whatever, it just gave me the heebs. And I'm like, okay, never mind. I was really excited about it for a minute, but yeah, I'm like, it just sounds like you make money based off of the number of people that buy the hardware within a certain area around you. And, you know, like what happens when everybody in your area has bought all the equipment? And it just seemed weird. You know, hopefully it does well. I mean, it's at 570 now. I mean, it was a lot lower than that, I think, back then. So it's been doing well for some people, I think. Render, Injective, Theta Network. It's sitting at $1 right now. Down 14.8. Avalanche is down. Caspa's down 14%. Hedera, Hashgraph down 14. But if I keep scrolling, Ondo's down almost 13%. Solana's down 12.5%. VeChain, Polygon, Internet Computer. You know what I haven't seen yet? I haven't seen Cardano yet, folks. Have you seen Cardano yet? Let's play. Yeah, Filecoin down 11%. I mean, everything has just been getting hit so hard. Neo being at 875 still kind of blows my mind. That just never amounted to anything. Algorand's down 9.5%. Quant is down 9%. SEI down 9%. Chainlink 9%. It's just crazy, man. Ethereum down 7%. Toncoin down 6.35%. And finally, there's Cardano down just 6% on the week. Yeah. Cardano's doing all right, folks. And here's the thing. When we look at Cardano, and we look at its price action and what's going on right now, man, this is getting silly. I posted on Twitter, I said basically that this looks to me like, this just looks like, not just Cardano, but all of crypto, I feel, is getting like that pullback. I've done this same analogy multiple times in multiple cycles because I feel like that's where we're at right now. We're just that slingshot has been loaded. There's a big heavy rock in it, man, and it's just pulling back until wham, it gets shot. And then that's where we start. And I will say, though, based off of what I'm seeing, and like where we're at, this looks a lot like, like 2017 to me. Unfortunately, this Binance chart doesn't go back far enough, but this just looks a lot more like the 2017 market, not like this double peak, two peaks. I feel like we're looking at getting like a really hard hitting, like boom, kapow over maybe 6 months. I know a lot of my calculations and finding like where the peak might be based off of previous cycles and all that. It's put us anywhere. Typically it puts us at around October of next year, but I just don't think that's going to happen this time around, folks. I really don't. I think the peak of this market is going to be front loaded in 2025. I think there's too much other stuff going on in the world. Now, I do believe a big part of that is going to be played into what happens tomorrow with this election. And, it's very, very, very interesting. There's a lot of debate back and forth. Like, well, what happens if Trump wins? What happens if Kamala wins? And, realistically, like, let's be fair about it. Number one, crypto is global. So it doesn't really matter who wins in this election. Okay. And I'm scared for other reasons in terms of this election. And I'm not afraid of Trump. I'm really, really afraid of like what may very well happen, depending on the outcome of the election. But I'm not necessarily worried about crypto because crypto is global. And it's so much bigger than just the US. And the reality is you can't stop crypto. So it's not like, because if they could, they would have already. It's to me, it's kind of the same argument where everybody's like, oh, if Orange Man gets elected, he's going to like round everybody up and put them in camps and he's going to do all this crazy shit. And then I'm like, if he was going to do that, he would have done it the first 4 years. If he was going to become a dictator, then never be a dictator again, he would have done that already. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I feel like all of the like propaganda and lies associated with what's going on, it's disgusting, man. And the problem is that there are a lot of really, really, really dense people that believe a lot of this crap. And, but I also want to confess something because I listened recently to Fetterman on Joe Rogan. And I listened to his interview recently, and I remember when his campaign was going, there was a lot of bullshit put out by the right as well. It goes both ways, but I believe that, the right has very limited avenues to put out their bullshit, and the left can just spit it out in 150,000 different angles at the same time, right? Because they're all supporting one another. A lot of it's coming from the same script from the top, and it's all just being filtered down into this, to your local stations. But man, they had me thinking that Fetterman was like a real nutbag. And, and I listened to Fetterman and I'm like, man, I just kind of want to give the dude a hug. Like, honestly, he sounded like somebody. And here's the thing. I always say I'm not right or left. I'm not right or left. I'm like common sense logic, what's going to actually help the world. I'm not about like a globalist agenda, and I'm not all about like corporate greed and all of that. I'm not about any of the bullshit. I'm about what is going to make the lives of Americans better, period. End of story. That's it. And when I was listening to Fetterman talk and I was remembering back, because I haven't paid any attention in so long, and I was just thinking to myself, man, this guy, he sounds like a really nice, genuine guy that just wants to do well and right by people. The only problem is he doesn't seem very well versed in a lot of the more nuanced elements of what's going on in politics. And I think a part of that is on purpose. I don't think he wants to be a part of any of it. I think he has his beliefs. He wants to work based off of his beliefs, and he does what he can to try and help people. But he made a lot of really good, valid points on both immigration and a lot of other things. And I'm like, he seems all right, man. I mean, he's a Democrat, and he just seemed like a pretty cool dude. Really struggling a lot because of his stroke. And just learning the story of him and his stroke during his campaign and how that affected him and everything he was going through while he was running, and how he just pushed himself harder and harder. And like, oh my gosh, I'm like, man, he's lucky to be with us, honestly. And I'm not going to lie, man, Kamala really screwed up not going on Joe Rogan. Because here's the thing, and some of you may disagree with me, but Joe Rogan would have given her a fair shake. And I honestly think that there's only, in my opinion, now this is all my opinion, you can take it as you will, but in my opinion, if that woman had any substance whatsoever, they would have absolutely jumped at the opportunity to put her on Rogan to demonstrate it to the world. And they didn't. They dodged that like it was a silver bullet. And of course, we see a lot of the controlled environments that she's in and things like that. And, and I know that, and I think maybe as a course of leading up to what could have been, potentially a, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically trying to lead into like, hey, you're going to be in a safe place here, because he would defend her. I think he defended her with Trump, and he defended her with JD Vance, to the extent that he said things like, yeah, she babbles and cackles and repeats herself a lot, but some people just aren't good, performing under the pressure of public scrutiny, right? Some people just aren't good public speaking. But unfortunately, you're going to have to be if you're going to be a presidential candidate, because there's a lot of public speaking, and there's a lot of engagement with foreign leaders, and there are a lot of things associated with the job of becoming a president that I just don't think she has. I'm just putting it out there. She doesn't have it. And I know that the idea is that, hey, here we are. We've had Biden now for 4 years. And how much control has Biden actually had as it relates to, the rest of the party, the top brass, the top leadership of the political party? How much have they been doing and controlling behind the scenes as opposed to decisions Biden's actually making? I mean, it's when everybody was being gaslighted into thinking Biden had a stutter, we all knew he had other issues. But if you brought it up to anybody on the left, of course, they're going to attack you. Like, how dare you insult that man? He's got a speech impediment. I'm like, are you serious right now? It's this upside down world that, what's up is down, what's down is up. And it's just like nothing makes sense. And it's just like, if you've ever debated with a liberal, you understand really why they're always so hot headed and so just quick to insult. And, because they can't comprehend or wrap their heads around anything outside of the narratives that they've subscribed to, and their echo chambers and their news media and everything they expose themselves to supports the ideologies they've adopted, whether it's recently, which I highly doubt. Most of them, in my opinion, go all the way back to like their university days, where they're absorbing all this stuff along with all of the smoke of the party. And I just think I think they've been rewired. It's just my opinion. I'm not a scientist. I don't know, but I really do think that there's a very big disparaging difference between somebody who thinks on the right and the left. And I even watched a video not that long ago about, I scanned a Democrat and a Republican's brain. And I watched this video and I was blown away, and I knew they were going to get it right. I just knew, because I knew there had to be a biological difference between the two. And there was. And these scientists basically scanned these two brains, and they had to figure out which was the Republican and which was the Democrat just based off a brain scan. And they figured it out, and they got it right. And it's a real good video. If you're interested at all in that, you should check that out for sure. But I'm going to move this over here because I want to answer questions and things, and I'm not going to just and I'm going to try and get through all questions that pop up. And let's see here. I don't want to ramble too much politically. I'm going to go back up to the top here. Oh boy, I really got to scroll. All right, let's see here. Joseph Johnson, what's going on? Love you too, man. All you guys are slacking, says Alex. Compared to you, we probably are, man. And Alex just recently got engaged to an absolutely beautiful young woman. Congratulations, Alex. I'm really proud of you, dude. I love to see you doing well, man. I really do. I love to see you doing well, man. Adam R, big man, first game for Crow. Thank you. Tech Concept. I am from Portugal. Yeah. Portugal sounds like an interesting place. Isn't like everything legal there now or something? Like I know that it's a socialist country now. But I'm pretty sure like everything's legal there, but I also hear it's a very safe place to live as well. So, your thoughts are greatly appreciated. You have never lied to us yet. No, I don't think I have. I definitely never intend to. I like to say I'm always right sometimes. I always mean well in everything I say. And I feel like everything that I say definitely comes from the heart. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm always right, but I try to be, and I try not to just talk out of my ass. Hey Crow, hope all is well. Thank you, Danny. Things are getting better. I mean, things are definitely improving. I honestly, I can't wait until this election shit's over. I really can't. I'm so tired of the toxicity. I'm so tired of the division. I could never say my truest real thoughts about the election on a platform like YouTube. I just couldn't. But that's also a part of my frustration. The blatant censorship and control of what we say as a society is absolutely repugnant. And it's all controlled by big dollars. And, I'm tired of one side being able to say absolutely anything they want, from, hoping for the death of an individual, making up complete bold-faced lies about anyone they want, and they all go unchecked. But then if you speak from a different perspective or a different ideology that doesn't necessarily agree with one particular side, well, then of course you're censored, you're shadow banned, you're blacklisted, everything. And it's so disgusting, because that's not freedom. That's not freedom of speech. That's not freedom of anything. That is absolute tyrannical control of speech, in my opinion. And, everything is so filtered through corporate greed, corporate interests, and the politicians that support it. And, it's just like everybody's got to pay the bills, right? And, it all flows into one another. And when I think about the right, and I think about when I think about the people that are supporting the right, Elon Musk, RFK, I think about the one big issue that a lot of people on the left love to point at, and that's, what they can do with their babies, right? And like, it's like you live in a state where you can get whatever you want done, but you're still fighting. You'd rather be able to go anywhere in the country to get it done at any time for any reason. And I get to a lot of people that's important, but at the same time, it's almost like that is a bigger issue than the constant toxins we're eating every day in all of our food. The way big pharmaceutical companies are able to advertise ad nauseum on any network TV show. I don't even watch network TV anymore. I haven't in years. And anytime I've tried, it's so disgusting, because you're just bombarded with self-medicating advertisements to pump up big pharma. I mean, it's like you can't watch a half hour of television without getting hit with like 6 medical pharmaceutical ads telling you take this for your cough, but you might blow your ass out of your head. And like, okay, cool. I think I'll try that. I'm going to talk to my doctor about it. It sounds wonderful. And it's just like this whole thing, man. It's like we've got all this stuff in our food that makes our food cheaper and last longer, but there's less nutrients, there's less in it. It makes us fat, lazy, messes with us chemically, everything else. Then we have to turn around and go fix all those issues from our food with the big pharmaceutical companies that are basically advertising themselves on all of the television that we watch because we're too fat and gross and lazy to do anything else. So it's like this whole cycle. And nobody thinks that that's a big enough deal. It's much better that I basically don't have to drive to the next state over to get some medical procedure done because it's less convenient for me. And it's just like, I feel like the truth is always somewhere in the middle. The same way I feel like the answer to most problems or issues is found somewhere in the middle. I don't necessarily think it should be all of the above in any given direction. I think that there are instances where something like that may very well be merited. But it's like, and at the same time, I'm not a woman, so it's difficult for me to say or speak on behalf of women who feel that that's an absolute necessary procedure to have available at any moment in time. But, it's just like, I feel like our country is in a position right now where we really are teetering on the edge of a cliff. And I think that we need to take some really dramatic measures to adjust our direction. And I just don't see anybody. I definitely don't see Kamala doing anything. I mean, I just don't. And it's like, you know what? I mean, if I were voting for somebody based on pure survival, I would feel like, okay, this may be a tighter race. I mean, obviously Trump is a survivor, and I don't just mean because he was shot. I mean, he's a survivor in terms of somebody with he's tenacious enough to drive forward against all odds. And I respect that. I've never seen anybody more, I've never seen any human being have to go through more than that man has. And he's not doing it because he's making money. I mean, he's lost so much money during the course of his political career. He's lost so much money. And then you've got people in other parts of the government who, they're making barely, maybe six figures a year, but then they're worth like $80 million. It blows my mind, but people are willing to overlook all of that stuff as long as they say things that they agree with in a moment. And that's where I believe like indoctrination and everything else comes into play. And the problem is that you have so many of these people that I know, because I put it out there multiple times. I've said, hey, I'd love to debate somebody on the left. And I've learned now that it's not possible. It really isn't possible for me to debate somebody on the left, because I'll tell you what happens. Because I'm always looking for answers. I'm not like a hard-nosed, like, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I'm not going to contemplate or take in anything that you say or your perspective and ignore everything. But that's what they do. And you don't realize that at first. And then you think, oh, well, I just talked to a bad one. They're so far gone that you just, no, they're pretty much all like that. Like, they literally don't want to hear anything you have to say on any level. I just recently had a debate with a woman on from Facebook. And, she was like, she wanted to know why I felt the way I felt. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, she sends me some points. I send her some counterpoints. And then I send her some other things that basically really should have opened her mind up. And she wouldn't even look at it. And then she sends me a bunch of more stuff. And then I send her some more stuff. And I know she's not reading anything I'm sending her, but she's just sending me more and more and more. And she's sending me all this, like, these figures, right? Statistics and data. And I'm like, you do realize that all of this stuff is fabricated. Like, none of these statistics are real. Like, and I've had a similar argument in the past with somebody else who was like, look at this, look at that. And, it's like he would send me data from this particular government website. And I would say, well, that's going to change because that's not accurate. We know there's no way that's accurate. We were talking about employment numbers at the time. And I'm like, that's just not accurate. He's like, we've got the best economy. We've got the best this. Look at the employment. And it's like, first of all, they're counting all of the jobs that people got back after the pandemic. They didn't create new jobs. They just let people go back to work and took credit for that. I'm like, that's a different thing entirely. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, no, I really don't think you know what you're talking about. I'm like, you should look into that. And sure enough, we've seen a lot of those numbers be shrunk down over and over and over. And then, here we are. And everybody's like, oh, wow, we've been doing really bad this whole time. But they do that because they want people who really don't spend that much time researching anything or really don't care to have a particular narrative that they're pushing forward into the minds of anyone that's willing to listen. And they don't really want to debate anything. And they all say the same things. I could give you like the top 10. Oh, Trump's lied 37,000 times. Or, I don't know. They all have these, they go into the January 6th argument. And it's like they all go into all of the same bullshit. But they don't actually know the details of any of it. They just have the headlines readily available for an argument. But then when you debunk those arguments, and I've known to debunk some of this stuff in very, very big, detailed ways, they don't want to touch it. They don't want to hear it because they are so... Here's the thing that we have to remember, and I feel like we really have to understand about people. Number one, I get tired of my own algorithm, okay? I would love to get more liberal, left-wing perspectives on things. And I try, but my algorithm, it's like, if I like something, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, good call on that or whatever. And it's just like my algorithm starts to shrink. And then it becomes an echo chamber. And I'm only seeing things that the algorithm knows I'm going to like or probably agree with. But I'm always willing to be challenged, always. On anything, whether it's crypto, life, philosophy, like science, whatever. But it's very, very, very difficult to do when your algorithm is constantly feeding you the same thing. The difference between, I feel, myself and others is that I know there's more to it. I know there's more outside of just what I'm being fed by my apps or my websites or whatever. And I'm always willing to take anything in as long as it's valid. The problem is, though, is that a lot of these people don't, and they surround themselves by people that become their echo chambers. They become a community, their friendships, often relationships. All of that stuff is built on a foundation of what I honestly believe just a lot of misleading bullshit. Because it gets them more emotionally triggered, and they have such an emotional attachment to this. I don't know what you call it. Is it just an ideology, or is it a way of life, or a combination of both? And it's like they don't want to give that up because they found a place that they feel safe and protected. And I feel like a lot of these people live in a weird state of fear to an extent because they believe a lot of the nonsense that's being projected to them, and so they feel like they need to be protected. So they establish numbers around themselves, other people that feel the same way they do. Nobody wants to feel alone. I'm okay with it. I'm a Scorpio. I have no problem feeling alone in my thoughts. Hey, thank you, David. I appreciate it. I don't know how cheerful I am, but I've definitely been getting a lot of things done that I care about. I've been building a website about Tesla bots. The Tesla bot Optimus, because I really, really want one, and I want to create a shop. Because honestly, my retiring days, I'd probably love to spend my retirement days like repairing Tesla bots. I'd love to have my own bot shop. I just think that'd be the coolest thing. I want to sell like aftermarket parts for your Tesla bot. I want to sell like ways to customize them and all of that. It's coming, folks. And I'm building a website now with all of the potential future keywords associated with aftermarket parts for Tesla bots. I'm already building it because I'm planning ahead, man. A year from now, I want to be ranking for all this stuff. And when somebody wants to like launch Tesla parts, I want them to come to me and be like, hey, can we list our site? Yeah, sure. And I want to start, and I'm going to basically turn that into like a retirement business. I'm hoping. I don't know. There's like 700 of you watching now, so I might have some competition, but that's okay. You do you, boo. I'll do me. That's all right. Let's see here. Said hi to you on your Twitter stream, but I didn't think you could see it. Yeah, I don't think this is pulling in my Twitter comments. Or wait, is it? Let me see here. If I click multi-stream, Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's just pulling in my YouTube stuff. Which it's, I need to figure out something else to do. I think if I use StreamYard, it pulls in everything all into one stream, but on this, it just pulls in my YouTube, unfortunately. But I do always go back to my Twitter stuff and I check the comments there and things later. So this election and or time of year has me really in a funk of depression, trying to fight out of. Yeah, man, dude, I hear you. It's how I feel. It's like everywhere you look, it's lies, 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 lies. And I really wish there was a president with enough integrity to reverse what Obama did when he basically made it legal for, propaganda. Between the Smith-Mund Act and the, I wrote an article about it. I wrote it on Twisted Times. There was the Smith, and unlike these fact checkers, they're always so full of shit. Like the way they reword things. It's like fact checkers to me are nothing but gaslight spots. They're like little gaslighter hubs, because they'll like ask the question and the way they ask the question and then the way they answer the question so that they can either say no or yes, depending on how they've worded it. It looks like it's meaning something else, but if you were writing all this stuff into a contract, it wouldn't be, you wouldn't be able to, it wouldn't stand up in court, right? Like because just the wording that they use. And it's like, when you're talking, when people that already agree with it read it, they just skim through it and they're like, see, says it right there. But if you have a more critical mind and you're reading it and you're very observant as to the wording that they're using and a lot of their explanations or the way they write the whole thing, you realize they're answering a completely different question that doesn't exist. But a lot of people don't catch on to that because they don't want to. They want to agree. They see the false. If they already agree with it, they just skim through it and then they want to link it all over the place. And that's how those sites get big and popular. It's all BS, man. I mean, it drives me nuts because I feel like nothing is safe anymore. And it is really difficult as a grown man, as somebody who works, as somebody who has a lot of care about like my family and the world around me. And I feel like everything is such a glass house and everything is smoke and mirrors and lies and propaganda. And it's just like, man, why do you have to do this? If your agenda is so good and it's going to be so helpful for the public, for society, for people, why do you have to do so much dastardly shit to put it into motion? And why do you have to gaslight so hard to protect it? And, I feel like, a lot of people on the right are a lot more common sense, logical types of people. So if what you're propositioning or what you're trying to project or accomplish is in fact a way to help people, I would stand by it. Like, it doesn't matter to me what side you're on. I couldn't stand Bush and Cheney. I couldn't stand them, and it's just like, I don't care what side somebody's on. I go with what is actually happening. I don't buy into all of the little emotional trigger points that are trying to make me feel a certain way so that I support or don't support a particular person. I dive deeper than that because I'm a smart human being and I actually give a shit about more than just what's going to trigger me emotionally in the headlines of whatever zombie news I'm going to be reading. Unfortunately, there are just too many people that don't think that way. And they're very, very highly taken advantage of in a lot of different ways. And that's why I call a lot of these people lemmings. Like, if you've ever played the video game Lemmings, it's just like, you just direct them around to do what you want them to do. You want them to build a little tunnel, or you want them to do this or that. You just make your lemmings go here. You make them go there. Some of them fall off a cliff. Oh, thank you, dear. Oh, did you put meat in it? Oh, shit. My wife just handed me dinner. It's a big salad with steak in it. You could have said hi. I'm live. Oh yeah, I'm just live. It's like kind of a election eve hangout since I haven't really done a video all week. Yeah. How was your class? Oh, okay. Yeah. It's only 6:00. Okay. My wife has been teaching dance now, and she just competed and did really well in Chicago. And what? No. Don't talk about that. You're looking at me like I'm saying something I shouldn't. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I got that. Yeah, I love you. uh-huh. She teaches pottery. Anyway, let's get more into some more comments. It's like, I've been on here 40 minutes already. I figure I got to make up for some lost time. You know, and here's the thing that I do want to address too, man. I really don't give a shit if you're right or left. I really don't. I know that, like, anytime somebody on the left sees somebody say, I support, RFK, or I support Tulsi Gabbard, or I support this or that, you know, a lot of you guys get all mad and you instantly write people off. I don't do that because I'm not a part of any cult. I'm not a part of any, like, I have to believe this way, and because I think this way you do too, or I can't stand you. I mean, I honestly, I love everybody. I really do. I care about everybody. I definitely, when people are toxic about stuff, that's when we have a problem. Like when you're toxic and you start getting to the insults and you start showing the fact that you really don't know what you're talking about, but you're really willing to start screaming and, you know, calling me names and stuff like that. That's when we have a problem. But, and the reality of that is I just kind of laugh some of it off because I'm like, you're just so far gone. Like nothing's going to help you. And then I just start to feel bad for you because I'm like, you really don't know what you're talking about. And unfortunately for you, you actually think that like this person is going to get into office, do a whole bunch of stuff he never did before, just because the media has got you scared to death. You're shivering my timbers and you're like all freaking out because you think a bunch of shit's going to happen that's not. And, you know, this whole like, there's just so much stuff and there's just so many lies, man. There's so many lies. Brody, yes, your messages are appearing. Thank you. Hey, Jason, greetings from the Netherlands. Well, welcome. Welcome. Crow your coins, Crypto Chef. 103 viewers and only 12 likes, probably on YouTube. I'm suspecting that a lot of the viewership is coming from Twitter. YouTube just doesn't like me. I mean, look what I'm talking about right now. YouTube's not pushing me up in any algorithm. Why do you think my channel just does not grow that much? And I just don't, I mean, I can do videos every single day. I might get 20 subs. I mean, I feel like since I've had so much trouble with my YouTube channel over the years, and you know, listen, you can't be on YouTube and speak your actual opinions. You can't be on YouTube and speak your mind. Like one way or another, you will get slammed, hit, punched, maybe even locked up. Like you never know. Like you just can't be an honest person and share your opinions in some of these platforms because, you know, that's the world we live in. Crow, if you make some athletic fit shirts, I'll buy a bunch. Okay, athletic fit shirts. I have those. I could do that. I really like the new, like my Bitcoin Cardano shaking hands shirt with Midnight sitting there with her food bowl. I think that's cool. Can ADA reach $5 realistically speaking? Yeah, absolutely. We went from 2 cents to $3. You don't think, and when it was even finished, you don't think we can hit $5? I seriously do still believe that we could hit $8. And depending on who wins tomorrow, this is the other thing that bothers me. Everybody's like, we're going to find out tomorrow who wins. No, you realize that all of the major swing states that the left need to win are expecting to take a week to 2 weeks to turn in their tallies. We're supposedly supposed to believe that a state like Florida that is like what the third largest state in the country can figure out its votes and get all of that resolved in a day. But smaller states with less people are going to need a week to 2 weeks to figure out the results. Come on. And they just happen to be, because we remember last time where Trump was leading. We all went to bed. We woke up and there's these giant spikes. Oh, look who won. And, and of course, nobody with any sense is looking at that and they're thinking, oh, that was totally on the up and up. No big deal. I told my wife the other day, I'm like, if I had the power or the means to like control anything in an election, what I would basically do is I would let everybody vote all the way up until like the end of the time, like whether it was 5 o'clock on whatever day. And then I would close all voting. And then I would go through the voter rolls and I would see, who's in the lead by how much? Okay, so this person that I don't want to win is leading by 5%. How many people are registered to vote but didn't? Well, there's like 20% of the voter roll didn't vote. Well, we only need 6% of them to come out ahead. I think we're going to go ahead and let them vote whether they're here or not. And then in the middle of the night, I'd go bink, bink, bink. And then I would get 6% of those people to vote that never voted. But we know they're not going to come back tomorrow and vote because they didn't show up when they were supposed to. And then tomorrow, look who won. And that's what I would do. And it would be very, very difficult to prove otherwise. You'd have to literally go through each and every individual and say, hey, did you vote in this election? And like, what are you going to do? Make 25,000 phone calls? In how much time before, like it would be very, very difficult to stop that. So I don't know. That's how I would handle it if I were a dishonest piece of shit trying to do all that. Brother, they are down after doing 20x. Well, okay. So, I mean, it still says something. HNT lost 260, I lost 260. What is that? Pounds on the hardware. They never sent me the miner. Just all of that with helium like that. It just didn't feel right to me. I was going to go in big. I was actually going to buy. They have like those real big like units or whatever, and I was going to have one installed. I was preparing. I was really diving in. I was going to go big on that, and I'm glad I didn't. It is what it is, but. What is happening? Rob was gifted a membership by PoeMan13. Uncle Juju was gifted a membership. What are you gifting memberships? Gifted 10 Crypto Crow memberships. That's cool. I didn't even know you could do that. So I never know what to do with the membership. So sometimes I'll just, if I'm going to put out a video, I'll just make it live for the people that actually have some kind of membership. And then, like either later that night or something like that, it'll publish to the rest of the world. Which probably will be of more value when I'm doing like a lot more like project reviews and things like that, or like paid segments and things of that nature. So, there'll probably be more value in those memberships here soon. Thank you for that, Poe man. That's really sweet of you, dude. Now hit the likes. Yeah. You think Bitcoin dominance will go to 65% and still hold Bitcoin for ADA a few months ago? Not quite sure what you're saying, but I do think that, Bitcoin dominance is going to go up to 65% probably. And I do believe it'll probably peak there and then it'll start to come down quite a bit. But I think it, I basically gave it until like January 6th. I think that is where the real meat and potatoes is gonna happen. Poe man, you don't have to be sorry, dude. That was really cool of you, man. Thank you. A lot of these were heavily shilled by YouTube influencers. Exactly. I mean, a lot of, you guys often wonder why I don't do a lot of the kind of content I used to do. And like I said, man, I've learned so much that I just don't feel comfortable. Back then when everything was new and you're still learning how this works, how the markets work. And, I've just become a lot more risk averse to things that are not proven. And, it's like, to each their own, because where there's risk, there's often reward. But yeah, I don't do a lot of the same kind of content I used to do because I feel like I know better now. ADA was 36 cents in May of 2018. Let that sink in. ADA was also 2 cents just a few years ago. Let that sink in. Roger had Elon on his podcast today. Oh, Rogan. Oh, he did? Oh, I got to watch that. All right, I'm done. I'm going to go watch this. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to watch it tonight though while I'm working. ADA bag holders are just making Charles richer. That's silly, dude. That's not how it works at all. I'm pretty sure Charles was doing very, very well long before he ever started Cardano. ICP, if I had more money, I'm buying. I've still got my ICP. I don't remember how many I have, but I have a little bit. Good to have Crow to keep things cool around these times. Moonwalker, if you're just going to troll, then exit stage left. Charles has been nothing but an upstanding citizen and foundational rock for Cardano. Yeah, you know what, guys? I know that there are a lot of people that maybe Charles rubs you the wrong way because of his political perspectives or because he's very brash or like, I don't know, man, like whatever. You know what I mean? But the guy's in his mid-30s and he's freaking stupid smart and he's stupid rich and he's trying to achieve things that none of us are doing. And I know that it's always easy to sit and point the finger the same way I can sit and I can point the finger at any politician and say, look at these people, they're so bad or, you know, like whatever. Right. But, you know, Charles is just, he's an interesting dude. And I feel like I have a lot of similarities actually with Charles. You know, I sent him these messages the other night. Because I was giving him a little bit of advice on some things and I was like, you know, and like, this is my actual background. Cause when I met him in Vegas, he introduced me to somebody as an MMA fighter. And I'm like, listen, dude, that's something I've done. That's not who I am. That's not what I do. And I explained to him, like, I used to, you know, I mean, I had a record label I ran for 6 years. I had bands nationally touring and I had music videos and radio and all of the national distribution. You know, I ran one of the biggest pro-am MMA fight promotions in the country for years. I had a television show on the CW. I was the first pro-am fight promoter to do a national live broadcast on DirecTV, for God's sakes. Nobody ever did that yet. Pro-am, at least. And then I built mortgage companies. I mean, the shit that I accomplished in the mortgage world, just building branches or being a consultant for mortgage branches. It's like, man, there wasn't anybody doing the shit I was doing. And, but I was kind of explaining a lot of that stuff to him so that he understood, like, dude, I'm not just an MMA guy, man. Like I've done a lot of shit. You know, I mean, I basically built my first business out of high school. You know, I just think that Charles gets a lot of hate because he speaks his mind very openly. And when you do that, you're always bound to rub someone the wrong way. And typically the person that is the most easily offended by something someone says are typically the ones who want to be the loudest on the internet. I don't know why. I don't know what's up with that mentality, but those are generally the people looking for something they can't find because they've never looked within. And I really do. I think that. And I think that they're always looking externally for answers to things, whether it's because of the way they feel about something or they feel bad or they're mad or they're angry at the world. Oftentimes, those are people with very little to no accountability whatsoever. And then they just get real mad. And they're like, screw the world. I'm going to go vote Kamala. I'm teasing, sort of. The more crows, the larger the murder of crows. That's right. Liquid looking hot lately, besides the election dump. Yeah, you know, where are we at now? 68,232 on Bitcoin's price. That's interesting. Let's take a look and see. I'm really nervous about tomorrow because, honest to God, I feel like even if Trump were to win the votes, I just don't. You know, we have all this like protect our democracy garbage going on, but like, you know, let me ask you a question. Like, if democracy shows that Trump is the pick of the people, do we destroy that democracy in favor of like what? What's the alternative? Like, where does like protect our democracy start and finish? Like, what does that mean exactly? Like, if he just happens to get a landslide vote across the country and you know, it's obvious that democracy chose him, who is it to decide that democracy is then wrong? Like, make it make sense. I don't know how that's supposed to work. Crow, do you think it would be possible at some point to build a mortgage company on a particular blockchain like Cardano using crypto for all transactions instead of fiat money? What's up, Jason Ballard? Yeah, I absolutely do think it's possible. It's just, here's the thing about the mortgage industry. It is so regulated. Like, there's so many regulations, and rightfully so. You would have to figure out how to be compliant with all of the mortgage regulations. And you also have to remember, when you get a mortgage on a house, like let's say you go to a bank and you're like, I want a mortgage because I want to buy this house I don't have the cash for, but I've got this down payment. All of the details associated with that mortgage and the house, all of that stuff basically gets piped into a little database, and you end up with like a little ticket. I guess you could call it a ticket. And basically what happens is another lender then typically buys that loan. So oftentimes a lender they have what's called like a warehouse line, which, depending on how old the lender is, how successful they are, what their track record is for closing good loans and all of that. It's such a big process, but ultimately what happens is you go to a lender, that lender may have like a $500 million warehouse line, right? Which means they can do loans for up to $500 million collectively. Okay. So what happens is, and think of the warehouse line as like a revolving door of money. Like, they're capped at maybe $500 million, depending on the lending institution or whatever. But let's say, just for the sake of being simple, let's say I do a mortgage for $400 million. Like, there's a $400 million house, right? So that's $400 million I'm using in my warehouse line. I'm only leaving $100 million available for like smaller loans. That money is then not available anymore until a bigger company comes and buys that loan. And so that's how these lenders make money. And then once the loan is purchased, then that money goes back to their warehouse line and they can reloan it. And typically when they sell the loan, they're selling it for, I can't remember what the numbers are, but it's basically a number of months plus like closing costs and points and things like that. So that's just one element of it. But to do all of that, it's all so thoroughly regulated, which is why when you do a mortgage closing, you've got like a stack of papers this thick that you have to sign saying, yes, I saw this document. Yes, I saw that document. Yes, they disclosed this information. They disclosed that information. A lot of that is regulatory red tape. And a lot of it is to protect the consumer, especially given what happened back in like 2008 in the housing crisis, or the mortgage crisis, right? So is it possible to establish a mortgage lender on the blockchain that's basically doing a lot of these things on the blockchain? Yes, I do believe it's possible to at least have some form of a hybrid lending institution, because you're not going to be able to do one without the other. In other words, you're not going to be able to do those transactions without being compliant with all the regulatory red tape and paperwork and everything else. Could you potentially do that on the blockchain? Yes. Could you do that maybe with like something like Midnight, where you've got these zero knowledge proof identity platforms that you're able to say, well, this is the individual's identity. This is all the information about them that's relevant to doing the loan. That's all on chain. You're using that information to then create the 1003, the application, but there's a lot to it. But yeah, at some point we are going to end up having like mortgages, because what I could see effectively happening is, your warehouse line could potentially become a situation where, you're getting this mortgage loan, and then that loan, that paper that you could ultimately become like an NFT that gets traded all over, like, the mortgage market, mortgage-backed securities, all that stuff, that could ultimately become like an NFT trade. So, yeah. Funny, because what you just described was how Trump won in 2016 when people were fed up and just wanted to throw a hand grenade to the system. Yeah, and they weren't prepared for that then. That's what's funny. They were prepared for it in 2020. because they knew what was possible. I think everybody kind of laughed and chuckled. Even I did, man. When I found out Trump was running, I laughed. I'm like, what the hell is this guy thinking? Like, is this a joke? I'm like, this guy is so arrogant. He thinks he's going to get voted for, like, he's going to be president. Like, Mr. You're fired himself. Listen, when I was really, really young, I was a big fan of Trump because I'm like, oh, he's all about money and power and building and prestige. And he's, you know, all of these things he does. He's so cool. And then when I started to wise up, I'm like, Trump's kind of an asshole. Like, he's just this arrogant dude. Now he's on a TV show. He thinks he's a hard ass because he's like firing people. He's just Mr. Powerful. And then when I saw like everything that happened and like from 2016 on, and I just saw, because you have to remember, you know, before him, it was Obama. Obama basically did like, he repealed like the Smith-Mundt. He did all the stuff necessary so that the media can start saying whatever they wanted about whatever they wanted, right? And so when he did that, then Trump got into office, and then we started seeing the fruits of that Obama labor, where now the media is just going at him constantly, just gaslighting, lying, everything. Then we had the pandemic and we saw what happened there. It's just like, and it just kept building and building and building and building. And it's just like, you know, there are so many people out there that are just so brainwashed and snowed by all of it, but they don't even know what the hell the Smith-Mundt Act was. Like, a lot of these people, they really just don't seem to have a clue about any of it. And you can't show it to them, because unless like Oprah or like, you know, unless one of these people point it out, and it's like, I don't know, man. It's like another form of tribalism. You know, they need their tribal elders to show them and teach them stuff, or it's all bad juju. Like, it's like, I'm not going to look at that. I remember growing up. I mean, I grew up Catholic, and, you know, I remember growing up and like my family, like if I wanted to read a book, or I wanted to, because there was a time I talk about it every now and then, like I thought maybe I was being called to be a priest. And so I was like trying to research and learn more about all of it. And a lot of the books, like whether it was books or music or anything, I had to show it to the like different family members to make sure that it had like the Catholic logo on it, to make sure it was basically approved for me to like consume. And that's kind of how I feel it is with anything now. It's like, if you're on the right or you're on the left, it's just like it has to be approved by the elders before it's okay for you to start contemplating or thinking about it. And like, that's the world we're in now, where it's not just about religious dogma. It's about like anything, any free thought you might have. If you have a critical thought, oh, well, that's terrible. You're not allowed to have that. We're here to tell you what to think. And if you want something else, well, then you're one of those guys. And if you're one of those guys, you're a racist, you're a xenophobe, you're basically all the bad words we can come up with in a moment. And like, that's the world we live in now. And it's just, it really, really is sad. And really the reality is I just wish everybody could figure out, you know, how to find some happy medium. And it's like, for God's sakes, we've got RFK Jr., man. We're going to put him in charge of like completely restructuring like our food systems and what companies are able to get away with. And I mean, do you realize how different the food in the United States is compared to other countries? Food and beverages. Get a beer here in the U.S. and then get the same beer somewhere in like in Europe or something like that. People drink beer for breakfast and they don't feel like shit afterwards in other countries, but we do here. I wonder why. You know, McDonald's French fries. Look at the ingredients here and then look at the ingredients somewhere else. There's like 3 ingredients in Europe, but we've got like 80 different things that we're consuming here just so that the French fry lasts longer and doesn't degrade in 45,000 years. I mean, it's just like, it's crazy because it's all corporate profiteering, and it's all to the detriment of society as a whole. And everybody is willing to overlook all of these things so long as their emotional trigger point is catered to. And it's just like, that's honestly a big part of the problem with like accountability and yeah, I mean, it's sad. I really am. I'm nervous about tomorrow. I'm not nervous about it in regards to crypto though. I mean, we've had both. We've had both in office. And you know, I think that if Trump were to win and like, you know, these swing states somehow figure out how to like do whatever it is they're going to do in a shorter time frame than a week to 2 weeks, or they just decide, you know what, you know, too many people showed up to vote, it's just too big to rig or whatever. I don't know what, I'm hearing all these different narratives all over the place. And they announced like, okay, well, he wins. We did everything we could, but he won. Sorry, folks. And, you know, then I think crypto could potentially start really skyrocketing quickly. But if he doesn't and Kamala wins, I don't really think there's much of a change. You're not going to negate the cycle. You're not going to be able to say, well, because this person is president of the US, crypto is suddenly going to like crash and burn forever. No, I don't think that's how it works. Especially considering companies like BlackRock and their like millions and millions and millions of dollars in inflows into like spot ETFs with Bitcoin. I don't think they're going to just like wash that away. But there are some other things that I think could happen down the line. Because I honestly believe, I don't think that the concern is immediate, but I do believe that if one side does win, I believe a lot of things are going to change for the better. I think things will start really turning around in a better way for everyone. I really do believe that wholeheartedly. And no, I don't think anybody's getting rounded up and sent to concentration camps or any of the trash that I'm seeing. It's just absolute nonsense. But if the other side wins, I see us basically really hitting a substantial, like, you know, like if you listen to like Ray Dalio and you read any of Ray Dalio's books, I believe that that is part of an agenda overall, because I do believe that there is something to be said about there being one currency utilized by multiple countries simultaneously. And I think that in order to do that, all of the countries have to be brought within a certain level of themselves. So that one currency has the same value as for everybody. You can't have one country that's like the supreme superpower and then them sharing a currency with like 5 or 6 or 10 other countries that are basically like not so hot. And it's a lot easier to bring one down than bring 10 of them up. And that's honestly a big part of what I see happening. What happens after that transition is a totally different story, but I really do believe that there's a part of it that plays a role in CBDCs. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm just kind of talking out of my wazoo, but yeah. Yeah, exactly, Chef. Big food working hand in hand with big pharma. Yeah. I mean, and now I'm seeing all these things about how they're doing all of this stuff for vaccines and like spinach and lettuce. And it's just, yeah, it's just not good, man. Like there's just a lot of stuff that's going on that I just don't see as being very good. And unfortunately, I really can't even dive into a lot of my real thoughts on it because walk through the door and like close the door, walk through the door and like close the door. You hear the sound of the handle and it was a creaking sound. And then he said, it's not like that. It's like everything is acted out. And so they're not describing everything. They're just doing it and you can hear it. It's like listening to like an old audio show back in the day where, you know, families would gather around the radio and listen to like, was it George Orwell or whatever? And everybody was freaking out about the UFOs and everything. I did see that Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. That would be so freaking brilliant if that happened. Like, I swear, man, I would like go out. I don't own any Doge, but I would probably go pick some up like immediately because that's exactly what Elon would probably name it. But anyway, hey Crow, who did you vote for, big guy? It doesn't matter. Like I don't think it matters who anybody votes for. I would never tell anybody who I voted for. I don't even want to know who other people vote for, because contrary to the narratives of today, I believe that voting is a very personal thing, and honestly, voting is such a personal right that I just Yeah, I know it is. My salad's cold. I'm gonna eat it in a little bit. Yeah, if you don't know without asking, then I mean, oh well. Like, but it's. Yeah, I just look at voting as such a personal thing, and I don't really think it's for public consumption. The same way I don't really feel like celebrities should be out there telling everybody. You say my audio sucks? Maybe that's because it's too far away. I don't think celebrities should be out there endorsing politicians when they really don't know their asses from a hole in the ground. And of course, the majority of them are going to be endorsing whatever the left-wing politician is because they all have to keep working. So yeah, audio is fine. It's you. Oh, you're saying that to whoever said that. Do I have a troll? Sound keeps cutting out. Probably because it might be because of my connection might be a little loose. I'm not sure. All right. Well, listen, I wanted to come along and say hello and, go over kind of what's going on in the world. This Bitcoin OS thing is just such a big deal. I'm super, super excited about that. I want to see some of you guys ordering these daggone shirts. These shirts, this is by far my favorite shirt that I've done so far. And, every one of you guys should be on Twitter with your boom shirts, your Cardano Bitcoin shirts, and you should be pumping the hell out of that all over Twitter. But whatever. So anyway, links are in the description below for anything important. And I don't know. Maybe I'll see you guys back tomorrow night. I know I'm going to be watching Valuetainment tomorrow. I almost got tickets to go to that, and I just didn't. And I'm like, man, it's in Fort Lauderdale. It's like, I want to go all the way out there. And I just don't like being, I'm going to watch it though. I'm going to be watching it. I don't know if it's an all day thing, but if it is, I'm going to have and I got his book, man, The Academy, Pat Bet David, The Academy. I mean, it's cool. I mean, so far I haven't gotten into anything super good yet. I'm only in page 62 or something like that. I just read it at bath time. Yes, this 7 foot, 290 pound ogre takes baths. I'd like baths. Don't judge me. But yeah, I just wanted to come on and share my thoughts tonight and just say, listen, it really doesn't matter who wins tomorrow. Just relax. I don't think it's going to be a huge detriment to crypto either way. I don't think that it's going to. I think a lot of stuff over the next 4 years, granted, could change substantially, but I'm really only concerned with what happens over the next 6 to 9 months, if I'm honest. Yeah, I mean, it's just focus on more positive things. Maybe don't let the election stuff eat you up too much. And, regardless of who you're hoping win, don't get too stressed out. If you realize that the vast majority of what you're being told is bullshit, and that both of these people are just human beings and they're just running to maintain power and to, some of them want to fix this problem, some of them want to fix that problem. And one side is trying to use a lot of fear porn to freak everybody out, make you think you don't have a choice. And the other side is just listen, man, I just want to continue what I started when the country was doing so well. And I was on a really good path and we could have done a hell of a lot more, but unfortunately we got rudely interrupted. And we just want to, keep going where we left off and make things a lot better for everybody. I know that what I'm paying for everything today is a hell of a lot more than I was back then. And, I'd like to go back to that for 4 years personally. And, it is what it is. People can feel differently and it really doesn't matter. Right or left, I love you regardless. Maybe do a little bit more research and make sure that what you're reading is actually real.